Today's guest has one of the most fascinating career pivots I've ever encountered. He went from editing breaking news at CBS and producing content for Major League sports teams to accidentally stumbling into what would become his life's work, revolutionizing how campgrounds and RV parks operate in the digital age. Brian Searl started with a simple video blog in 2009, but a cold call to KOA and a chance encounter with a Kentucky campground paying their worker just $10 a week for social media management changed everything. Fast forward to today, and Brian is the founder and CEO of not one, but two companies that are reshaping the outdoor hospitality industry. Through Insider Perks, he's pioneering practical AI solutions for an industry that's traditionally been slow to adopt technology. Think 24/7 AI chatbots that can handle emergencies, and AI call centers that never sleep. Meanwhile, his news platform Modern Campground has become the go-to source for industry insights, and his podcasts MC Fireside Chats and Outwired are where the real conversations about the future of outdoor hospitality happen. But here's what makes Brian particularly interesting. He's not afraid to challenge conventional wisdom. He'll tell you straight up that traditional SEO is dead, and that the travel industry is about to see massive layoffs due to AI automation. Whether you agree with him or not, his track record of being ahead of the curve makes him impossible to ignore. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into AI, automation, and what it really takes to build practical technology solutions for the least flashy corner of hospitality. Brian Searl, welcome to the show.
So, Brian, you have a unique background. You're a pioneer in the intersection of outdoor hospitality and artificial intelligence, with ventures being Inside Perks and Modern Campground. Can you tell me how you came to build these companies? So I want to get into your start of your career because it's very different from where you are. How did you come about working in the major CBS and sports stores to being in completely different industry?
Totally by accident, man. You see my background working at CBS, and I worked for the Cleveland Indians for a while for their baseball team. I was at the time after that, I was working for Time Warner Cable as a cable install person, right? And I threw out from my shoulder from carrying a ladder. And so there was this whole thing where they didn't want to pay me workers' compensation because they couldn't tie it to a specific injury. The nature of the thing is it happens over time, right? And so while I was off trying to fight that, I went into an Apple store, picked up a laptop, taught myself how to design websites, decided at the time, I didn't want to continue with Time Warner because they were just messing around with me. So I decided to give it a go and started. In the beginning, Insider Perks was a travel video place. Mm-hmm. And so we would go and work with tourism bureaus and cities and destination marketing organizations, primarily around the United States. That's where I lived at the time. Was born there, but did all that. We traveled around and they comped us hotels and attractions, and we went and did basically free editorial videos and all that kind of stuff. And it was really good for a while until YouTube didn't really pay the bills. We were getting a couple million views, right? But this is early days. We weren't anything really special, but we kept it down and kept the channel alive because I was literally on the road for 4 years in a Jeep. I didn't have an apartment or anything else, right? We did all that. But then in the course of doing that, we came across, I pitched KOA Campgrounds. Here, I'm like that. Tired now. But we like mud. Come up and do videos of like campground. And finally, I got him to agree to it. He sent me to their corporate-owned property in Sugarloaf Key in the Florida Keys. Did a video on that. And he loved it after that. And then he sent us up and down the East Coast. We did 90 different campgrounds. In the course of doing that, I came across an owner who was struggling to manage their social media. They were hiring an industry they call work campers, traditionally older retired couples who would come live on site in exchange for a campsite. They'll work. So they weren't doing it right. I'd do this for my company. I could just do this for you. And he had mentioned he was paying this lady $10 a week or something. So I just made up a number of $50 a month. And he's all right. 33 later, nobody told us no. Here we are.
I wouldn't be surprised if one of those videos is what got my family into traveling. We used to do that a lot when I was younger, traveling across the state. They're fun. You have to give it back.
There's lots of really great camping destinations. My start was with KOA, but you're right. They do have a great brand.
Basically, it became storytelling, part of your core DNA. when you made the switch, did you feel you were onto something fresh? It seems like when you figured this, it was very early. Did you worry that jumping into something completely brand new might not work? Just with this blog, you'd be doing that doesn't make a whole lot.
Of course. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Anybody who takes a risk as an entrepreneur and tells you that, no, we're completely fine, we were 100% confident that it was going to work out, is full of shit. Can I say shit on your show?
Oh yeah.
If I can. But absolutely. In the early days when Insider Perks started, we were just the marketing company, right? We were doing social media, and then we went to review responses, and then we started doing websites and Google Ads and everything else. So all that was because of the vertical we were in, and this probably translates well to a lot of small businesses out there too. But because of the vertical we were in, campgrounds, there were so many people who don't still to this day have a grasp of what it really means to do good marketing, do good SEO, do good websites, because it's not their job. Their job is to run their campground, and it's part of their job. You could make that argument, but there's only so many hats you can wear, right? You know this running a podcast. I know this running a couple businesses, right? There's only so many things you can do and be good at. You can't be a jack of all trades and do all of the things excellent. So that was the biggest struggle with us in the beginning, is they don't understand. Back then it was, why do you even need to be on Facebook? Today it's still in some ways, why do you even need to be on Facebook or social media, right? But so it's that uphill battle. Not only can I convince them of what is important to do on social media or websites or ads or whatever else, but will they pay for that? Because they're not, you have to talk them into something. And then you're like, well, I need enough money to pay me and my employees and everything else. And they're like, oh, I've never paid that before. There's always an unknown. And then the pivot to AI that we'll get into in a little bit, probably. It's always an unknown. It's always an uncertainty, but you study it, you look at the market data, and you take a risk because you're never going to know what the difference was, right? Everybody gets so hung up on waiting on a decision. I want to wait until I know I have all the facts and then I'll make the right decision. You'll never know that you made the right decision because the other decision that you didn't make was never made. So just make a decision.
I find it funny because it kind of highlights my career. I started government and tech and grew my development soft skills. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just not happy, and knew that it wasn't what I wanted, how I was doing things, but it wasn't until I took the step back to, nope, I'm leaving that risk. And I'm happier for it. I might be a cash flush to be, but I'm happier for it. This is better. So can I ask, how would you go about, so Newfoundland has basically campgrounds, yes. How would you go about marketing campground? How do you go about the campground to buy into your software, your marketing, or things they think they don't?
So how do I sell a campground on my services?
Yeah.
First, I think it's important to clarify. It's interesting, when I moved up here to Canada 4 years ago now, and I'm a permanent resident up here and all that kind of stuff. But when I moved up here, I didn't really understand that most people viewed campgrounds as the provincial parks. Most people don't even realize that there are private campgrounds in many of the provinces in Canada. And so that's like, we don't really work with the provincial parks. Like, we probably could if I decided to target that, but like, it's just a mess with government and all that stuff. So we focus primarily on the private campgrounds. How do I talk to somebody? Like, it's talking to somebody in their own language without being tech savvy, without being coming across as egotistical, thinking that I know better than them, whatever else, right? It's coming to them and saying, look, like, you have a great campground. If you do, right? I mean, sometimes we're bullshitting. Like, we're not really, but like, there's different types of great campgrounds, right? You have a great campground. We can see that you're struggling for some reason, right? Like, we're looking at, we're doing research in the beginning. We're saying, like, look, we saw your website. It looks like it was designed in 1990, or it's not mobile friendly, or the colors are completely unreadable, or whatever else, right? Or we looked at your Google reviews and we can see that you have a lot of people saying things that probably aren't true about you, or you haven't posted on social media in 3 years and it looks like you're closed, or like, whatever the approach is, it's not a manipulation. It's an uncovering of something that, even if they never hire me, it's, look, I found this for you. You should correct it, whether it's through me or it's through somebody else, or your cousin down the street, or you finding time to do it at night instead of watching Netflix, right? Something like that. Yeah. And so the goal with me has always been, let me get you on the phone, and I will intro all sales calls this way. To this day, I still do a lot of sales calls, right? And I will say, like, the goal here of this call is just to educate you. If you work with me, that's great. But your time spent with me on that sales call, you'll come away and you'll learn something. So talk to me. And most will. And I don't know what the percentage is that hires me or not, right?
Yeah.
I don't keep track of that. But like, it's all about value. It's the same reason I ask you about coming on your podcast. How can I provide value?
Certainly you'll provide value already. Just to me, if that meets out my audience. Whereabouts in Canada are you?
Calgary.
Okay, so funny. I get a lot of Canadians, but yeah, it's either from the West Coast, East Coast, never.
I mean, I'm sort of in between, like a little bit, right? Let's not Vancouver.
Yeah, but it's like
Still West Coast, not Saskatchewan.
My brother's in Manitoba, and I barely talk to him. So. I wanted to get into why did you move to Canada over?
Three things. So it was actually in the middle of the pandemic. It was, I think, just after the border had opened again. But I, like, three reasons. One is I knew that I had business up here that people wanted to be involved with. Like, I had been going to Canadian trade shows and conferences for the camping industry for a while. And I kept hearing repeatedly, like, we would love to do business with you. We just want to keep our tax dollars in Canada. Obviously, like, now that's 170,000 fold what it was back then. But, you know, and so I knew I always wanted to start a Canadian division of the company. It just kind of was one of those things that was always on my list to do to expand. Two was I'm a big avid hiker, like outdoor person. And I grew up in Akron, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, which is really flat. And so I really wanted to live someplace that was more mountainous and exciting. And so, like, I'm 45 minutes from Banff National Park now, and like endless between us and the West Coast, like glacier lakes and hiking trails. And I could spend 10 lifetimes trying to explore it. And three, honestly, and it's a minority, but three was like how the US reacted during COVID. I lived in an apartment building at the time. I just remember thinking, I can't imagine getting into an elevator with a little old lady and then hearing that she died the next week and wondering, was that me? I want to get into this. I'm not saying anybody did it right. I don't really think we should have actually forced masks on people. I would have just hoped people would have been like, that's my neighbor. I should just wear a mask. So that was the third.
That's kind of one of the reasons I pride myself as a Canadian, is I've always felt, as a country, we've always felt it's our duty to help every other person. It's not doing it for just, believe it or not, it's to protect the sky.
Yeah, it's a human thing to do. Just be kind.
I'm just hoping, again, problem with Canada lately isn't going straight towards the US, and I'm hoping to get back into Canadian ideals a little bit better. But
I think this is going to force your hand and our hand into doing that, which is, I think, going to be great for Canada.
I'm hoping we get a little bit more into protective AI before that. I want to get to the point where every individual has their own AI that's looking for them, their best context, their best life. Take off that mental anxiety of, hey, I don't know this person. What should I be aware of?
You know who Ahmad Mustak is?
Yes, I've been following like that.
Okay. So have you seen what he really announced with his book and his plan with his coin?
I didn't. I just started reading The Last Economy. Just starting to figure out what I can maneuver into my coin right. It's prosperity projects.
Yeah, you've got time. The coin isn't publicly available yet until 2026. But what he's talking about is a lot of the same things. One of the principles is giving everybody their own personal AI. That's why
I'm very, very big fan of my brother. A lot of what he says. He's very high level. You have to break him down some.
He's very smart, right? He knows a lot of stuff. And
so I want to get into building your ecosystem more. How did Insider Perks evolve? You started as a social media man. I started into digital marketing automation. How did you get into the automation? Because you were doing this back before automation was a big thing. What were you looking at? How did you do it?
Where the world's going, right? And where we need to go. I've always been the guy who wants to be on the bleeding edge of tech and push everything forward and look at where everything's going. And a good example, and I'm not comparing myself to the man, is like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? He will tell you that he doesn't know how to forecast the future, and he doesn't. Just like I don't. But we look at the behavior of consumers and where things are going, the same thing as we just talked about EMOD, right? Anyone who with half a brain knows that all the jobs are going away. Except for the therapist that you want to hug you and the NBA team that you want to see play, except for the human connection stuff, right? And so it's the same thing with how we evolved. We just look at what are some things that we can provide to, in this case, campgrounds that would enhance their ability to do digital marketing better or allow us to offer our services in a more affordable way or a better way. Because even today, you see a lot of these marketing companies who are just coming in and saying, we're going to post on social media for you. We're going to do it the fastest, quickest, whatever way possible. It's junk content, the same thing. It's all about you. It's being selfish. It's saying, book this site, book this site, book this, everything else over and over again. So how can we make that process better, both for the guest to discover you and for you for your revenue? And then the same thing for your website, and the same thing for Google Ads. And so can we use technology to make that faster, quicker, better? That was always the thing. Early on, I remember we created our own reporting dashboard and everybody looked at us. I don't want to have time to sit here and look at these numbers, but you need to. They still don't look at it today. So it's pushing into little areas like that. And so then as we move forward into more things like automation, you look at the basics of automation before AI was even a big, huge thing that the world knew about in 2022. It was the Zapiers of the world. How can I string together things? It was the if this, then that. But if something happens, how can I automate it? And so it's not automation for the sake of making things just cheaper, at least not from our perspective. It's automation from how do I make the guest experience better while also saving myself money. Two things that you have to do at the same time, which most companies don't do, which is why most people hate talking to chatbots on websites because they think that they're dumb, because they are dumb. And they hate talking to robots on the phone because they're dumb and have been but all that's flipping.
We're fast forward new. How are you implementing these automations for Campground? Like, can we get into specifics so that you can understand your technology a little bit?
I think a couple things that we produce out of the box, right? Because the more that we can produce out of the box, the more that the campground owner who's not tech savvy or a small business owner, whoever we're talking about in your audience, right? The more that you can produce out of the box, make it easy on people to operate it without thinking about it or knowing how to code, the easier it is on them. And so that's why you're seeing like reports of what OpenAI and Anthropic are working on with specific agents that are going to be a HubSpot expert or whatever, that they've created an individual model specific to that. So what you're going to see is that the owner will be able to hire a CRM expert. That's an AI, right? And so they know where these things are going, but that's easier than trying to stitch something together or learn a platform or figure out how to do it yourself or use a basic chat GPT. All that stuff is confusing for small business owners. So just making it as easy as possible. So for us, there are currently 4 things that we do in that vein. One is AI chatbots. These are a stopgap, honestly. Nobody in our industry, AI chat is a stopgap because nobody's going to be browsing your website in a few years. It's a temporary product. But AI chat, custom, really good AI chat that creates a database so that the thing never lies, right? And there's what time check-in and check-out is. It doesn't hallucinate. We can control the answer to every question. So AI chat, AI calls, which is a newer thing for us. We've been working on it for a couple of years, but we've just started to roll it out within the last 6 months to a lot of different properties. And so same thing, it has to provide better guest service. The goal is let's answer questions 24/7. Let's check availability of a campsite 24/7. That's better guest service. If you ask for a human, we will send you to a human because you want a human, because we're here to provide customer service and we want you to be happy, right? So those 2 things are our big core products with the AI side of it, right? And then we've started to delve into some agents, like a social media expert agent, not like a chat GPT, write me a social media post, but an agent that will actually sit down at your desk virtually, right? And we'll say like, is today the day or the time that I'm going to write a social media post for this campground? And if it is, then let me then remember what the audience style guide is and what the brand persona is and what the ideal customer profile is. And then let me have one of my team of agents come up with a CTA and research the post and use the internet and write the content and schedule it in like a Hootsuite platform and then pick the time and do everything, right? So you just flip that thing on and then it's autonomous. It just runs everything for you whenever you want. And it's not going to replace a $90,000 to $100,000 US dollar, 120,000 plus expert top level social media person strategist yet. At least not our agents won't. But like a mid-level, $60,000 to $80,000 a year, for sure. They're already smarter than me. They're smarter than you. They're smarter than all the social media people. It just needs to be built and there needs to be compute.
Yes. Age-old question of compute and building.
Just one more thing. So those four things, and then and then custom automations, right? So then we come to the owners, and this is harder than you think. We say, we know you're interested in AI. We know you're interested in automation because you're already our client. How can we automate more of your day to make your day easier? And so then they walk us through, here's what I do every day. Anything that you do at a mouse and keyboard already today, 60 to 80% of it can probably be automated. It's getting you in the mindset of, you think that can't be automated, but just tell me what you do every day, and then we'll chop it apart one by one.
That's actually my business model. I also run a shop out of my home to do that for local businesses out here. Just finding the things that they can automate to just get rid of it for them.
People desperately need it, so it's a good place to be.
It's weird being in a place where they don't like tech, but tech is the be all end all of what would solve most of their problems.
Again, it's that balance. Early on, we had people in Campground say, why would I ever want more technology? My goal is to let people disconnect. And my answer is the technology allows them to disconnect faster. Just the way it is.
Also allows you to, you don't take no order. So can you talk to me about personalized customization that you did for somebody? Do you have something that you can share with us that you've walked through a custom automation for a client?
I think the biggest one, again, I can't share specifics, right? But I think the biggest one that we've done and explored a couple different times is a housekeeping schedule. So think of it, and if you have a resort, a private campground, or even, it applies to a hotel or other things too, right? You have a certain amount of people who are going to depart the cabins, whether there are 10 or 20 or 50 or 200 or whatever, on a certain day. So you've got to look at those people who are departing, then you've got to look at the schedule of people that you have available that are coming in to clean those properties. And then you've got to figure out, well, how long does it take to clean a 1-bedroom versus a 2-bedroom versus a full resort style home? And then how do I allocate that time? If you can stitch together the API from the reservation system, if one's available, it pulls all the departure data, and then you can take the employee schedule and feed it in from a Google Sheet or a doc or some other information, right? You can use a basic Zapier to do some of this stuff, right? And then have AI analyze that stuff and understand the dimensions of your cabins and which ones need cleaned. Then it's very easy to come up with a housekeeping schedule that can be doubly verified the morning of. So you're scheduling double verified in case somebody extended their stay or something like that, right? And then that saves, you'd be surprised, between an hour and 4 hours of time a week, just that thing alone. And we're not talking about replacing people. There's going to be people who are replaced, but this is more in my world. These are campground owners who are just themselves. These are mom and pop people who maybe have 1 or 2 staff members or whatever. It's saving them time. So then they can provide a better guest experience or whatever they want to do with it.
Do you think you'll get into the market of the manual labor once it becomes available?
Oh, for sure they will. Yeah, absolutely. Have you studied anything about humanoid robots? Have you seen how far they've come?
Yeah. I know they're probably going to be commercially available next year, limited models.
The bottleneck is the manufacturing. Just the bottleneck to smarter open AI models is there's not enough compute. The only thing stopping this is the manufacturing capability. And you had in Star Wars, right? You'll have the robots building the robots, and that'll come probably before 2030. But the bottleneck is that. And once you have that, like, they have the intelligence and they have the dexterity, and the bodies have basically been solved. It's just the software. So, like, yes, a plumber or a housekeeper will probably last 10 years, but it's coming.
What do you say to those people that don't plan? Like, I don't want to say don't, but like, what do you say to these people, right? It's coming.
Yeah.
Everybody's afraid. What do you say to help give hope to people?
I think you hear a lot of people on podcasts, TV, and discussions, who talk about, well, you need to retrain or you need to reskill. Again, we already talked about this. Any job without human connection, name me one that an AI or robot cannot do. You can't. So there's not going to be any more jobs created like that. And it all sounds doomsday scenario. I think what I would say to those people is the same thing I would say to you, the same thing I would say to me, because I'm in those shoes too. There's going to be really, really good podcasts. We both do our own shows that are more charming and more appealing than either of us are, that say the most perfect thing every single time and never fuck up. They're going to be taking over the content and social media. They're going to be like influencers. So it's not just me talking to people and saying your job's in danger. My job's in danger. Maybe even quicker than yours, because I'm just a dumb CEO who just makes decisions every day. I don't even do most of the work. So my job's easier to replace. But I would say we really need to have a conversation about this. The problem is we're not having a conversation because it's all uncomfortable for too many people. And that's not just among people, it's among the governments too. Like, you're starting to see, as much as I have a bad taste in my mouth for a lot of what Donald Trump does, you're starting to see that the United States is actually not having the conversation about jobs not existing, but at least being willing to move forward at a rapid enough pace that they're going to try to do something. That's coming because of a variety of different things, basically US and China and everything else. It's competition, right? Same OpenAI and Google and Meta and everything else. And so we have to have a conversation and we have to talk about this stuff. The government needs to talk about how the future of you trading your time for a paycheck is rapidly coming to an end. And it's not about what are we going to retrain you in. It's about how do we move into a world where jobs no longer are required. And that's a big conversation to have. But the longer we wait, the worse it's going to be, because we're going to go through a period where it's going to suck really bad for a lot of people. And the longer we stop and refuse to talk about this and pretend it's not going to happen and it'll just be fine. I think I read somewhere at the height of the Great Depression in the United States in 1929, the height of the Great Depression was 25% unemployment for a couple months was the peak of it. So we don't even need AI to kill all the jobs. If you get to 10 or 11% unemployment, which are we already at 7 or something in Canada?
Yeah.
It's not that hard before the whole economy we're panicking, right? We're a couple percentage points, 10 percentage points away from, this is really bad. So you don't even need AI to kill all the jobs. You just need AI to kill 10% of them.
So big difference with Canada is, I don't know if this is true. The number I've heard, 40% of people who work are somehow, shape or form employed by.
I believe that because you're more of a socialism, more of a government-run society in different facets of medicine, hospitals, than the United States is. So I believe that. That makes sense to me. And that honestly makes the job safer because the government doesn't care about efficiency.
Problem is, because the government doesn't care about efficiency, that's why we have inflation and all the other problems with our monetary system.
To your point, though, okay, you can relax because you're a public sector person now, because you're not thinking about how is the government funded. The government's funded with income tax.
No tax.
Well, how are you going to pay the public sector's people? Either you lay them off then, or you reduce services, or you print money, which leads to more inflation, which is right.
And for anybody interested, I have more videos on this. I'll keep playlist right here for anybody looking, because I do talk about Ontario or Canada a lot in that regard. I do have a political side of this. So let's go back to our main topic, the contrarian view that you have, mainly because traditional SEO is dead. Can we go into what it means to be AI first discover?
Yeah, I don't think that I would go as far as to say traditional SEO is dead. I think there's a lot of people who do. I think some of them are sensational, trying to sell their own new GEO services or whatever they're calling it. I think that the foundations of SEO, of presenting a website that clearly explains who you are, what you do, tells your story, is authentic, is not keyword stuffed, allows Google, traditionally speaking, to understand who you are, what you do, and to categorize you correctly, has to be done. I think that pillar of traditional SEO is still there. I think there's still a very strong case for backlinks. but I would put it as not just building backlinks. I would put it as building a brand. We know that through studying some of these AI models that we don't know. We think we have very strong arguments. I don't even think Sam Altman knows if you put a gun to his head why ChatGPT spit out something as number one. We know that they put a premium on your authority, how much you're mentioned on social media, how many conversations are being had, does the media cover you, how old are you, those kinds of things. So if you build backlinks, if you send out press releases, if you do stuff like that, that helps you a little bit. Over time, it's a long game. So that part of SEO is still there. Your traditional things like, I don't know how tech savvy your audience is, but like schema markup and stuff like that on the back end is not actually in play yet for AI, for most AI systems. There's a lot of people who would tell you it is, but if you think about it, the way ChatGPT browses websites, it doesn't look at the code. So how would it understand the schema? It will, but it doesn't yet. So those foundational things of traditional SEO, I think, are still very important. And then you need to look at, for us, it's, I want to be the answer to as many questions as I can. So if you look at it from a campground perspective, which is our expertise, it's not that I want to trick, not that I want to manipulate, because you're not going to be able to do that. The AI is already smarter than you. Stop trying to trick it. Google was already smarter than you, but they still messed up some places and left some doors open. The AI is already smarter than you. Stop trying to trick it. So provide a good experience at your campground. And then instead of telling them normally about what your website is and social media and everywhere else, go deeper. We're counseling our clients to, instead of having 5 or 10 pages, have 40 or 50 or 60 or 80 or 100 pages. Not just filler content. If you play this out, let's use an example of a playground at a campground. If in the future, as you say, we all have our own personal AIs, which I hope we do, or at the very least, which we for sure will, we will have a personal AI assistant that's a chat GPT that just knows all about us and all of our interests, whether that's a Gemini or whatever else, right? Those things will be working in our best interest. So if you have an AI working for you and you're a single mom and you have a 7-year-old daughter who loves playgrounds, right? And the AI knows this about you, that you're a single mom and that your daughter loves playgrounds. Obviously, she's 7, she's going to like playgrounds, right? But the AI knows that, the AI would know that. So then the AI is going to go out and it's going to browse. It already does this with agent mode and ChatGPT and everything else, right? It's going to browse the internet for you. And it's going to look for campgrounds near the area that it knows you want to go to, or coffee shops, lawyers, legals, accountants, whatever we're talking about, right? And it's going to try to find the best fit for you and your daughter. Now, if it comes across a campground website that has an amenities page that lists 20 things in bullet point fashion, one of which is a playground, it knows you have a playground. Check.
Comes across a competitor that has a playground page that has all kinds of images and talks about slides and swings and all the things that it has, and maybe some example activities and games you can play and how safe it is, and the wood chips on the bottom, not hot, and it's a plastic slide, so it's not metal, right? What do you think the AI is going to choose? I don't know, but it makes sense to me that the more information I provide, the better it can make a decision on whether it's a fit for that person. So those things, like take the playground example times 100. The more information we provide.
Made me rethink my entire website. Now I have to go add some few pages. No, it's all good. At least I have an AI to do that for me now, and I don't have to worry about actually coding. As much as I love coding, it's so much easier to just tell the AI what I work towards. So can we explore what's next for the hospitality industry? Like, where do you see it going? Do you think campgrounds are just going to be like one-man ran shows eventually?
Yes, probably. I think it takes 20 years to get there. This is going to be a slower rollout. I think that there's going to end up being a split in the camp, as there is going to be in many sectors. I think there's going to be a split between I'm a tech campground and I'm a non-tech campground. There will be people who will completely, just like there will be in society, if you think about like the Amish or Mennonite people, there will be a hard split in society between I'm not touching anything AI and I'm all in with AI. There really isn't going to be a middle ground. And so you're going to see campgrounds split along the same way, non-tech campgrounds versus tech campgrounds. And so the non-tech campgrounds will, for as long as they can be, that we run traditionally, and they will be able to do that probably for quite a while, because there will be a significant segment of the population who doesn't want tech in their campground, who will continue to camp at those places. We'll talk about that in a second, but they continue to camp. So then there's the tech savvy people who will do the same thing. The problem you have for campgrounds is that, as we've already discussed a couple times on this podcast, the jobs are all going away. So this is what nobody can grasp. If the jobs go away, how are they paying you to go camping? I don't know. I have no idea how that's going to work. That may end up working through some kind of trade system or barter system where they help you clean up the yard and do something like that. And maybe that is, we see a lot of campgrounds do that. There's all kinds of ways that this could work. And then again, I think that turning point of whether it's 10 years or 20 years, depending on how quickly we're willing to have the conversation, it turns into a utopia where it just works, right? Energy and intelligence is all basically free. But then I don't know, how does that work from a campground perspective? How do you run a business then? Is it even a business? Do you need to make money? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're just trying to provide an experience because it's your passion. Maybe that's where it goes. Because I'll still work till I'm 300 because I'm going to live that long with AI, I hope. Unless I get hit by a bus.
I'm going for immortality.
I mean, I don't think immortality is ever going to get there because you could just still walk out the door and be, well, okay, immortality in a human body, right? Your body is too vulnerable to be immortal, but your mind, maybe.
Yeah, I'm to be the face of Bo, if you like that.
Yeah, I've seen the
I love that.
But a little less wrinkles?
Oh yeah, definitely to be 20 years old, optimal age. Just to be able to see time, that spectrum, to be able to see all of the changes, because I get to see the change from us going from industrial revolution to the technological revolution to now AI. Our generation gets to see those progresses. It's just be interested to see that on a greater scale of millennia over it.
But you will. You probably will.
Yeah.
If you're the Ryan Johnson, right? Don't die. 20, you need to make it 20 years. Really, really closer to 6 to 10 if you have enough money. To then where you'll start, you won't be immortal, but you'll start for every year you age, you'll gain. I'm wearing this Whoop on my wrist, this fitness tracker. It tells me my pace of aging. And then I got my treadmill shoes on because I go in the treadmill and take meetings. That's what I do to get my steps in every day. Your pace of aging. So you'll start to get 1.2 years or 0.2 years younger for every year you age or something like that. It'll just slowly cross the spectrum and then it will extend out, extend out, extend out. You won't be able to take a pill and go back to being 18, but you might be able to take a pill by going 55 to 53. And then when you get to 58, maybe then it'll be a 5-year pill and then a 7-year pill and then a 10-year pill. And then maybe you have to take a pill once every year. I don't know how it's going to work out. It sounds nuts to anybody watching the show who doesn't clearly do as much research as you do in videos because you know about EMOD and all that kind of stuff and all the things we're talking about. Yeah. It sounds nuts, but since 2016, there's been a Harvard professor working on this stuff who can turn a mouse old to young again with a shot. Like they know that we're basically pieces of software in our bodies. They know there's really smart people working on this stuff. Wait until we solve physics. That's going to be like 5 years. We're going to solve the laws of physics.
I can't wait for that. Just to see the level of progression in terms of technological feats. In the next 10 to 15, I already see us trying to mine some sort of asteroid as a starter.
They're already doing that, aren't they? I thought Elon was talking about that.
They're trying to right now, really hard. Although it's easier with AI integrating, but we need new ways of propulsion because it's too heavy to bring up. It's easier to just electrolysis on whatever's up there already. I imagine what will happen. Spaceships will eventually get to the point where they'll need the rocket fuel. They'll drop that off, but what will happen is their first mission is to go find some water off the moon or some other planet or an asteroid. Once they have that water on board, they'll use the sunlight, electrolyze the water and turn it into hydrogen to use that as a source of fuel for it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll eventually have the cities up there like Jeff Bezos wants to build, right? And then you'll just have the space travel between those things.
But people think like it's going to be hundreds of years from now. And I'm like, no, we're talking 20, 30, 50 at max for these things to come out because of AI.
The question is whether everybody will live there or it will be like Elysium.
I really hope.
So do I.
I'm fighting for non-Elysium.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wrapped up with everything I had. Is there any final thoughts you think we should give to our audience? Also plug anything like for yourself?
I don't think so. I think the biggest takeaway, I think if you're watching this, and I don't know, is your audience like mostly business people or are they consumers?
I actually don't know that. I know basically demographic. I'm mostly American. Indian. I don't get a whole lot of comments or reach out. I don't really know where my.
I mean, I think whoever is watching this video, just play with AI, touch it, understand what it does. You don't have to get complex with it. You just need to spark your mind and be creative about it. And we had clients a couple years ago who would say, I don't know what to do with this thing. Well, go home and sit in front of your TV with your kids. And when you're watching a movie, ask more about the Pixar movie you're watching and then have it tell a custom bedtime story for your daughter. As you do those things, then you'll start to ask more questions, and it will pique your curiosity, and you'll get the number one thing is to get familiar with this stuff, right? And you're coming across a time you're probably already there in your career path where it's already too late. And so I don't mean to be a doomer, right? But still learn it. You still need to learn it. You need to understand it. You need to see how it functions. You need to understand if we do have personal AIs, how can you take advantage of that? How can you use it to your advantage? And then 2 is just start to pay attention to what's going on around you. What you hear and see in the media, in public, and everywhere else could be true, but it could also be a bunch of bullshit that somebody's just trying to feed you because they have an agenda. Now, that agenda could be good for you or it could be bad for you, right? I'm not saying it's always bad. Don't be paranoid, right? But always look at the other side of the coin. And then just really start to think about, like, what is the best way that I can set myself up for what I think is coming? And it's literally what you think. Because what I've just said on this show and what you're saying on the show and the listeners, like, no, none of us know. I have no idea. I just have a best guess. So just try to prepare, try to know, try to do all the things, and you'll come out probably ahead of 95% of people in there.
Very true. We're back at the days where everybody knows nothing and everybody thinks they know everything. Thank you very much. And where can people reach you?
If you want to email me, you can email me at brian@insiderperks.com, BRIAN at insiderperks.com. Happy to help you if I can. Otherwise, website is insiderperks.com. If you want to check out a little bit more about us, we have a pretty cool blog. We're doing some forward-thinking tech stuff that AI agents are writing for me, based on my creativity, though. Right? It's still, I have 2 brains. If you didn't notice, by the way. So we're doing some cool stuff like that you can apply to your own business or your own personal life or kind of things like that. So
awesome, and I'll make sure it's in the comments below or in the description below. Thank you very much for coming on. Stay weird.